All right, here we are. Connells Combat, episode number 4, and I'm recording this the day after all of the fights on Saturday. And I can't start any other way than by going, holy fuck. Tyron Woodley absolutely knocked the hell out by Jake Paul. The worst Tyron Woodley's ever been knocked out ever. And Jake Paul starched him. I can't believe that. The fight was so ass for 6 rounds. It was so ass. They were just clinching. They were both crowding their punches. Woodley would punch, like, 2-punch combo and then clinch. And Jake would do the same thing. They were just non-stop clinching. They were butting heads. There was no action. No real clean shots landed by either guy. It was the shittiest fight up until that point. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy the pay-per-view. Thank goodness. I streamed it illegally. No, I didn't. Dana White, don't ban that. No, it's obviously not Dana. But, yeah, I streamed it illegally, and thankfully, because that fight was so terrible until the 6th round, and I'm just watching it like, what is going on? Jake Paul stands still for a moment. He kind of shoulder feints, then backs up, and Woodley gives that parry reaction. And he was trying to parry. He parries like these body shots a lot, and Jake Paul read it, and he threw it over the top. Right hand. Woodley parried. I don't know why he would. Oh, don't know why he would do that. And Jake Paul put everything into that punch and just slapped him. Face first. Wow. One mistake is all it took. I can't believe. I literally jumped out of my seat. I was watching it with my dad. It was like 12:30. I jumped out of my seat and said, "Holy fuck." I screamed so loud. My mom woke up and thought my dad died. I was screaming so loud. I could not believe it. It just happened out of nowhere. The the build up to it of like such a shitty fight, and then boom, just one punch and it's over. And the way Woodley fell, it was unbelievable. My dad looked down at his phone for 2 seconds and missed it. Crazy. I can't believe it. Unreal. Nothing else I could really say. Jake Paul bailed it out. If that went to 8 rounds, and say they like gave it to Jake Paul, because they probably would have, it would have been boring. It was boring as hell. Like, it was a terrible fight. And then Jake Paul just saves the day with that overhand right. Oh my goodness. And personally, I want Jake Paul to keep fighting MMA fighters. I know people are like, fight a real boxer. But I'm not interested in that, really. Like, the Tommy Fury fight didn't really interest me at all. I would have watched it, but it didn't interest me at all. I would like him to just keep fighting MMA fighters. That's interesting to me because it's a guy who started training late, an athletic guy, has 3 years of boxing training, this big personality, big persona, big ego, cultivating guy. I want him to keep fighting these MMA fighters who have been fighting since, like, they've been fighting for 10, 15 years. Obviously, they haven't been boxing, but a part of MMA is boxing, and that's why it's so intriguing. Like, how much training does this big athletic kid need? And of course, he's got all the resources in the world, all the money, so he can get the best trainers, get the best facilities, all of that. But it's like, it's just so fascinating to me. And the MMA community really rallies kind of around these guys who fight Jake Paul. Even if with Ben Askren, they pretty much knew he was going to lose. Ben Askren couldn't strike for nothing. But they still rallied around him. And even with Tyron, who they didn't really like, rallied around him. I don't know. I just think it's so much more entertaining when it's an MMA guy, and there's that Dana White aspect where Jake Paul goes at Dana White, and Dana White is salty as hell about Jake Paul, like just always ripping on him and stuff like that. Yeah, I think a couple possible options would be Anderson Silva, but like Anderson Silva's looked good in his last few, but if Jake beats him, which would be crazy because Anderson is a damn good boxer, a damn good boxer. But if Jake beats Anderson, then they're going to be like, "Oh, Anderson's old." Like he's 46 years old. You knocked out a 46-year-old. But like I don't know. I'm in no way a Jake Paul fan, but you got to give him some credit for knocking out these guys and not just winning by decision, not squeaking by, but knocking them out all face first on the canvas. You got to give him some credit for that. I don't know. Yeah, Anderson Silva, one potential opponent. I think if Nate Diaz, I think he has one fight on his contract. I'm not sure. I thought I saw something about them re-signing a deal, but if Diaz is out of his contract, that fight with Jake Paul would be huge. I would love that fight because Nate Diaz is a good boxer, way better than Woodley or Askren, obviously, but he'd be the best boxer that Jake has ever faced. Like Andre Ward, former cruiserweight or super middleweight, I don't know. Andre Ward, former champion, beaten guys like Kovalev twice, and he used to train with Nate Diaz and Nick, and was like, these guys are great boxers. Like they're not out of place when they spar me, Andre Ward, obviously saying that, not me. But yeah, sparring guys like Andre Ward and other champions, they stay in there because they're so tough, and they've got unreal cardio, volume. I think that fight, Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, if Nate Diaz can somehow get out of his contract, because he'd make a load of money against Jake Paul, and I don't know, that fight would be interesting as hell to me. So yeah, that was crazy going down that card. The Amanda Serrano fight, I really only caught the last 3 rounds of it, but I don't know, man. They were just kind of standing in front of each other throwing these combos, and the girl Amanda was fighting was tough. I don't know. It's just like I can't really get in. They're really slow. They're not that powerful, and it's just not great to watch. I don't know. Yeah. Not trying to be like sexist or anything, but I don't know. I thought that fight wasn't, from what I watched, 7-10 was not great. And then Deron Williams and Frank Gore, these two had a scrap, and when Deron Williams in his post-fight interview, I gotta sit my old ass down. That was funny. But both of them looked kind of stiff, but Deron was finding shots down the middle, throwing his right hand. What the hell is going on? And Frank Gore is a tank, and he hit him with a good right hand that wobbled him, but a lot of pushing. Both guys got thrown through the ring. That was a funny fight. Yeah, I guess we'll move on to the UFC one now. Derrick Lewis knocks out Chris Daukas, and man, did I pick Lewis by KO? I think I did. Or I picked him as a joke, but then I went Daukas. I don't know why, really. I didn't know that Daukas was 30 pounds lighter than Lewis. I don't know why I missed like the weigh-in, or I didn't see the weigh-in and see what both guys weighed. I thought Daukas was a little bigger than 230. I thought he was like 245. Like I thought he was a bigger guy. But you can't be 30 pounds lighter than Derrick Lewis and expect to take his shot. And Daukas was so worried about Derrick Lewis's right hand the whole fight, the one round that it was. He was staying at a distance. He was giving Lewis so much respect. He was keeping up further than kicking distance from Lewis. Just terrified of Lewis's power, as he should be. But at a point, you gotta be, I don't know. I don't know. If you're 30 pounds lighter than Derrick Lewis and he punches you 3 times, you're probably going to sleep. It doesn't matter where on the head he punches you. Anywhere on the head 3 times and you're 30 pounds lighter, you're not taking it. And Lewis kind of just closed them off. Lewis has really good timing. People think he's just this big right hand who he just throws it. But no, he's got amazing timing. And he just crowded Daukas into a corner. They got in a little exchange. Lewis grabbed him, just started punching him, and he goes to sleep. It's that easy. Like, you need, like I said, 3 or 4 punches from Lewis, and you're going to sleep. Unless you're Blagoy Ivanov. If you remember that fight at UFC 244, and he's been stabbed before. Dude's been stabbed in the chest and has this big mark. That dude is a crazy... bro. Yeah, that dude's a crazy motherfucker. Sorry, I'm getting... Man. Alright, sorry about that. Noah Delorenzi was calling me, and he likes to FaceTime me a few times. Daukas very scared of Lewis's right hand, as he should be. Lewis cornered him off and just landed it. And Daukas went sleepy night-night. And Derrick Lewis is in a weird spot. I think Derrick Lewis should fight Stipe. That would be a good fight. Stipe would have to employ like the same game plan that he did against Ngannou. But how's Stipe's chin after that Ngannou knockout? And he's taken a lot of time to recover. Hasn't fought. Bro, are you seeing this? This happens a lot. I just randomly start bleeding. I'll be back. Man, what the fuck? Most scuffed podcast of all time. Just randomly start bleeding. Noah FaceTimes me 8,400 million times. I hope you guys like my hot sauce. This shit is ass. Oh my god. Worst hot sauce of all time? Probably, bro. It might be the worst hot sauce of all time. That Poirier Louisiana. It's so bad. I can't believe how bad it is. It's like soap with spice to it. I've never had Louisiana hot sauce, so maybe that's how it usually tastes, but god damn. And maybe this is like really sour or something because it hasn't been in a fridge for like a little bit, but god. Shit's brutal. Okay, let me just quickly go through this because this is scuffed as. There was a KSW event. I want to quickly cover it. Cover it I can't because I don't know how to watch these KSW events. I went to KSW.com and it's like $10 pay-per-view and I don't really want to buy that. I know it's $10. I'll probably buy the next one. And I wanted to watch I forget his name, but he's like Mirko Krokop with his style. He's got the left kick and he was going for 2 belts. I don't really know how the results went, but I want to start watching those fights. Let's go through the results of the UFC card. Belal Muhammad out-wrestled Wonderboy for 3 rounds. Very boring. But, again, a solid, dominant performance, obviously, from Belal. And he called for a title shot. But, nah. Just nah. Leon Edwards deserves a title shot over Belal every day of the week. And Belal was saying, get him some new blood. He's already beat Leon. And I understand that, but Leon's on a 9-fight win streak, and he was beating you in a fight until he eye poked your ginormous eyes. Maybe you shouldn't have such huge eyes, Belal Muhammad. You got huge eyes, bro. Ginormous eyes. Like, you can't really blame Leon for poking them. Those things are like 6 inches tall. Yeah, so not much to say there. Wonderboy's takedown defense has been getting worse with his age. and he says he wants to fight forever, but if he can't defend a takedown, it's not going to go well. And his style is so based on speed and reactions that getting older is gonna not do good on him. You know, like Randy Couture fought till he was 44. I think he defended the title at 44. But Randy Couture wasn't bouncing in and out with front kicks and weaving back, blitzing, right? Like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's speed and his timing and his reactions, like the karate style is based on all of that. And as you get older, that gets worse. If you're Randy Couture and you just get people in the clinch and punch and take them down, and like Randy Couture could do that. He was a perfect fighting style to fight old, right? You can't be a guy who relies on speed and reaction time, and as you get older, expect to be able to sustain your excellence, really. So yeah, it's unfortunate to see Wonderboy on the decline a little bit, but it's inevitable. And then Amanda Lemos defeated Angela Hill by split decision, and this was some bullshit. Angela Hill getting robbed constantly on split decisions. It's brutal. I think she was tied with the most split decision losses, along with Masvidal, Paul Felder, and who else was it? It was one other person, but I'm forgetting. But yeah, Angela Hill won the last 2 rounds of that fight easily. She got hurt bad in that first round, but she's tough as hell, and she kept coming forward. And this Lemos girl is very powerful for 115. Very powerful, and those front kicks up the middle were there all day. Angela Hill isn't great at defending those, as a lot of people aren't. Like Frank Yeager sucks with stuff up the middle. Yeah, I don't know. She just couldn't find a solution. Like she couldn't parry it down or see it coming and move her head or move back. It was just there all the time. But in that second and third round, Angela Hill just came forward, walking through shots, landing leg kicks, punches. Beast. She was tough as hell, and she deserved to win that fight. But they robbed her. They gave it to Lemos. And then Ricky Simon defeated Rafael Assuncao via KO. And yeah, he dominated him in the first round with wrestling. And then in the second round, he knocked him out. Just overhand over the top. Assuncao's chin is slowly going away. And he couldn't really do anything with Ricky Simon in this fight. Nothing was really succeeding for him at all. And Ricky Simon wrestled the shit out of him in the first round and then knocked him out in the second. Good for him. I think that's his first knockout in the UFC. We'll see if he can continue that or not. And then we go to Gamrot and Diego Ferreira. Now, this was an amazing fight. The scrambles they were going through, Ferreira looked good. He was giving Gamrot problems. But then we go into the second round, and Gamrot was mixing his takedowns in really well, but Ferreira largely was doing a good job of stuffing him. But Gamrot ducked under, got a body lock, brought him to the ground, had him against the cage, and maneuvered this knee in perfectly. It was on the liver side for Ferreira, and it snuck in. It looked like it might have cracked his ribs or something, but it was not a lot of power in the knee. He kind of just maneuvered it and put it in the perfect spot, and as soon as it landed, Ferreira was like, shit, and then he looked over at the ref and started he tapped on his hand and was waving to tell him to wave it off, and then Gamrot didn't know what was happening. He sunk in a choke, and they stopped it, but it was a TKO, and yeah, Gamrot, good resilience there, but Ferreira is a beast, man. He was doing good in that fight. Super competitive fight. Super high level fight. And yeah, that was a fun one to watch for me. And then Cub Swanson defeats Darren Elkins in the first round. Cub Swanson. Obviously, Cub's the better fighter of the two. But it was a case of, is Cub going to gas himself out? I didn't think he would. But is Cub going to gas himself out beating up Darren Elkins, and then Elkins is going to sub him or something? But that wasn't the case. Cub was moving really well. His hands down. He's always had that hands down style. and he was switching into stances and landing good shots. And then the finishing shots or the finishing sequence, he kind of squared up his stance, slipped Elkins' jab, which wasn't speedy by any means. He slipped it, bop, bop, bop. I think he 2 or 3-pieced him, dropped him bad, and finished him off. Yeah, finished him off. That's so weird, bro. He finished him. Yeah, Cub looked good, but again, it's Darren Elkins, right? So, it's tough to know. But he's won 3 of his last 4. Just lost to Giga in the first round by liver kick. But yeah, Cub's still got a little bit of pop in his punches. To finish Darren Elkins in the first round is impressive. I would say Elkins is tough as hell. So, yeah, good on Cub. And then Meerschart subs Stolzfus. This was sad for Stolzfus because I think he lost his last 2, and then when you lose 3 in a row in the UFC, you're usually cut after that. So, but Stolzfus was doing good. He was kind of dominating on the ground. Meerschart was throwing up some submissions, but Meerschart was pulling guillotine a lot, and he was getting too comfortable doing that, which would end him up on the bottom in a disadvantage. Is that a word? Disadvantageous. There we go. Position. And he was on his way to losing that fight, I'm pretty sure, but he got the sub, rear naked choke. Yeah, I just felt bad for Stolzfus, but that's 3 in a row for Meerschart, all subs in this year, I'm pretty sure. So good for Gerald after that Hamzat loss. Obviously, it wasn't looking good, but he's rebounded. He's a tough guy, and he holds the record for submissions at middleweight. And then Justin Tafa, the guy who missed weight as a heavyweight, knocked out Harry Hunsucker with a head kick that was completely blocked. Harry Hunsucker put 2 forearms up like this, and Tafa just kicked it, and it went like against, but it was blocked and got stopped because of it. It was pretty wild. Tafa hurt him with a punch and then kind of swarmed him and just threw a left kick, and Hunsucker kind of leaned over that way, but he was blocking. I mean, obviously the guy who missed weight for a heavyweight fight has a little bit of power. So yeah, Tafa wins, but he missed weight as a heavyweight. Very rough. Very rough. And then we go to Melissa Gatto defeats Sijara Eubanks TKO in the 3rd round. This was an amazing timed body kick. I loved the timing on it because she backed up and Sijara was out of punching range. Sijara threw a right hand, and Gatto, it wasn't near landing at all, but Gatto was in kicking range, staying out of Sijara's Eubanks' punching range, and just front kicked. Oh, I just kicked my TV. And just front kicked her right as she was throwing it. Perfect timing, right in the gut. And just amazing timing. I love that shot. Just out of range as they're throwing, exposing all of their body with that right hand. Boom, front kick right to the belly. And yeah, that was amazing timing from Melissa Gatto. Good on her for winning that one. She was the underdog, and to win by KO, she was like plus 1,000 or something like that. So good on her. I love the timing on that. And then my boy Charles Jourdain, the French Canadian, I love it, defeats Andre Ewell. He had a rough first round. Not really super rough, but he probably lost the first round. And then 2nd and 3rd round, he started putting it on him, especially in the 2nd round. Putting it on him. And in the 3rd round, Jourdain he's good out of both stances. He was in southpaw for most of this. And good boxing combinations against the fence. And yeah, just looked good, man. I love Charles Jourdain. And then in the 3rd round, near the end, he starts unloading on him, screaming in his face. Ah! Unloading on him and screaming. Okay. Yeah, landing good punches, screaming in his face. And just intense as shit. And then he throws a spinning hook kick that was this close from knocking Ewell out. It just grazed the hand that was up to guard. And then like 10 seconds left, and he just front kicks him down and screams at him. And Ewell gets blasted by this front kick, falls down against the cage. Badass performance by Charles Jourdain. He needed that. I think he lost his last 2, or maybe he only lost 1. But yeah, that was awesome by Charles Jourdain. Unanimous decision win. And then Rocky Pennington at featherweight. I didn't know this fight was happening at featherweight, but Macy Chiasson missed weight for this fight. What's up with people missing weight for the biggest divisions? Like, featherweight is the biggest women's division and you missed weight. Heavyweight, biggest men's division, missed weight. And she subbed her with a guillotine. Pennington was working she was trying these switch stance punching combos, not having much success. Her head movement looked all right. She was kind of weaving back and forth. And I think she's on a 3 or 4 fight win streak right now. So good on her. Got a sub. Got a finish. Solid. And then Dontel Mays fucked Josh Parisian's face. That was pretty dope. He had him in north-south and just started humping him in the face. That's all I need to talk about. Dontel looked good. His wrestling looked good. But Josh Parisian isn't much of a I don't know. He's not that great. But Dontel Mays used his wrestling training with Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn, and that dynamic, they were in the corner together. And when Dontel Mays was getting Vaseline rubbed on his eyes, like checked by Brad Tate, the big African-American gentleman, like big dude who Charles Oliveira hugged, when he was getting like Vaseline checked for the, that, Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn were standing beside each other, but they were at this like weird distance apart from each other, not saying anything. And you know what happened with John Jones, where Winklejohn publicly kind of bashed him, and Greg Jackson has taken him in and is forgiving towards him. And I think there's a little bit of awkwardness going on there. And at the end of the fight, when Dontel Mays won, one was in the cage and one wasn't. It was weird. It was a little weird to watch, but what was weirder to watch is when Dontel Mays started humping Josh Parisian's face. And then Herb Dean was like looking at it. He kind of went up to him, and then Dontel Mays was like, "What? I'm hip striking him. I'm striking him with the hip." So yeah, that was entertaining to say the least. And then Jordan Levitt, I think it is, the weird dude who can do the splits and who slammed that dude in his first fight. He won by sub against Matt Sales. Inverted triangle choke was pretty nice. He threw up a couple different submissions at Matt Sales. His his grappling looked good. And yeah, not much to say about that one. It was a good fight. Yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. Already been 32 minutes. This podcast has been kind of scuffed. I started bleeding in the middle of it. I got 7 FaceTime calls. Thank you for watching. If you made it to the end, you're a beast. And peace. See you next week. Maybe? Because there's no fights. What am I going to cover? No, I'll do a year-end show. See you next week. Sponsored by the shittiest hot sauce in the world.